This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome into a Thursday live edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. The Yankees ain't going 0 and the entire spring training. They got 2 wins under their belt, 2 and 3. For everybody who says they don't count, you're right. They don't count at all. They don't count for shit. Who cares? But it's nice to win, nice to not lose baseball games. We're seeing some positive signs already from guys who we needed to see positive signs from. We'll talk a little bit about it, but also not really because, it's nice that there's some game action. You guys are probably watching the game. You're watching us, and we love that, and we thank you for it. But really, we want to talk about Aaron Judge's contract. The only arbitration-eligible player the Yankees have not yet signed to a one-year deal. And that 1 year, it's going to be the final year of his deal as constructed. So that's important. Is that real? Is that a sham? Are they talking extension? Is that why he's not locked down? Or is there really going to be an arbitration hearing here? The mandate has now been lifted as well. He can play home games. We'll talk about that in a bit. But huge year coming up for Aaron Judge. What's real? What's phony? Also, the Toronto Blue Jays circling around Brett Gardner and trading the Yankees' nemesis Randal Grichuk all in a 24-hour period. Doing us a favor? You're doing harm to us. What are you doing? I don't know. And catcher, are the Yankees set there, or are they still looking at Willson Contreras? We're going to break that down. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us that 5-star review. Put a mailbag question in it. Shove that mailbag question in there like a turducken right inside your 5-star. We'll be sure to answer it on a future podcast. The mailbag is always wide open. I know so people keep reaching out to me, tears in their eyes, saying, I want to submit a mailbag question, but you guys aren't doing a mailbag episode. It's like, dude, submit it. The mailbag is always open. It doesn't have to be a mailbag episode. We'll be here for you. But you can also find us live on YouTube Mondays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock Eastern time until the regular season begins. And we might be shifting that all up. We'll have to figure that out. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the podcast. Good energy so far in the last 24 hours. Before then, the energy was pretty bad. Rachel Balkovec got hit by a baseball in the face. The Yankees traded Gary Sánchez to the Minnesota Twins only to see Carlos Correa also go there, and suddenly they're teammates. That's the stuff we've had to deal with. But the tide's turning a little bit now, even as the Aaron Judge contract question looms.
Yeah, I don't like that, though, and I hope Rachel feels better. That's terrible. 5 to 7 days away from the team. Must have been a serious hit. Don't know who was off. We don't know any details. We just know she got hit, and that's the end of the story. Speedy recovery for her. Single A manager. We need her. A lot of good guys on that team coming up. Hopefully going to make their way up quickly. But yeah, Judge's contract extension situation. I don't like it. I do like the somewhat positive vibes from spring training. We got Gleyber maybe bouncing back. We got Davey hitting 95 on the gun consistently in his last outing. Giancarlo Oppo bomb yesterday. Who else hit a home run yesterday? There were 3 homers yesterday.
DJ lifting it to left.
Yes.
Gleyber hit an Oppo bomb.
Oppo, yeah.
Gleyber's hitting like 700 this spring. Again, we all sort of, it's hard to watch a spring training game and be like, this doesn't matter at all. Because it does. I mean, it's action on the field. Like, it's not determinative for your season if you win a lot of spring training games. But if somebody looks terrible in spring training, they might look terrible in April, right? It's not a completely useless metric of judging success. Maybe a pitcher's working stuff out. And you watched Luis Severino the other day, and you're like, he's throwing easy cheese 97. I don't really care if he's getting smacked around by Spencer Torkelson. Gave up some runs to the Tigers in his spring debut. So in that instance, I don't really care, right? Because the process looks good. He's throwing hard. He's throwing it effortlessly. He's not grunting. His groin didn't fall off like last year. I watched that, and I'm like, cool. Gleyber Torres, effortless power going Oppo. Good. Like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I don't know how much to garner for. He's hitting like 500. He's hitting line drive rockets all over the field. That's great. There's nothing I was looking for from him this spring specifically. And he's got like this little leg kick now, and he looks a little Justin Turner-y. If he's good, that's great. But like, I'm not going to look at Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's batting average and be like, Yankees got to steal. But I am going to watch Gleyber Torres staying on fastballs, ripping balls Oppo. And I am going to look at that and say he looks different than he did last year. Davy Garcia averaged 94.9 miles an hour on the fastball yesterday in his 2-inning outing. Averaged 92.2 on the fastball last year when he was walking 68 dudes in 90 and 2/3 minor league innings. That matters to me too.
Yeah.
Again, that's not me getting on a soapbox and being like, Davies GOAT again. He's back. He's going to be in the rotation. No, I don't know that. And I don't know much about him plowing through 2 innings of the Baltimore Orioles, who are insipid enough that they're trying to trade Trey Mancini now after he came back and survived cancer, and they held on him at last year's deadline. Now they're like actively shopping him. Like, it's a disgusting franchise that keeps, finding 2 or 3 pieces and then getting rid of them and finding some more prospects and then discarding those prospects. It's gross. So what you shouldn't do is be like, Yanks looking great, 2-3, not bad, beat the Orioles. Like, I saw a lot of people being like, got to get those Orioles games this year. That's what lost in the East last year. Yeah, I know, but winning against the Orioles in spring training does not affect whether or not they're going to get those Orioles games this year during the regular season. What could affect the regular season is Deivi Garcia being able to throw 95 miles an hour, topping out at 96. Yeah. That's something where I'm actually like, all right, if he's topping out at 96 and giving up 6 runs in the inning, I'm still like, all right, topping out at 96. Okay. Where was that last year? So that's the spring training minute. That's 3 minutes on spring training.
Yeah. I mean, you watch it and you shouldn't draw any conclusions, because it's like the situation where we followed Gary at the Dominican Winter League last year. It was like, if he performed well, cool. What he's supposed to do. If he performed like dog shit, then that's a problem. But seeing any positive upticks in players who struggled last year, dealt with any sort of injuries in that capacity. I think DJ swing already looks like his 2020, 2019 swing. There was a clear difference in his 2021 swing plane and the strength behind his swing, which was clearly affected by whatever injury he was dealing with. So like, that's a cool positive I draw. I like seeing Giancarlo hit an Oppo rocket early on. It's just cool. Set the tone, do what you got to do. And Glaber doing anything positive at this point really just feels, it's like, okay, he's not still stuck in the doldrums doing bad stuff when the competition is lesser and lesser. So that's all you got to do for spring training. That's all you got to do for winter league offseason stuff. Just make sure the guys who had been struggling previously are not falling further beneath the surface. But the bigger thing here is Aaron Judge. Only player, like you said, 2 sides could not agree to a contract, which is weird to me. Judge made a shade over $10 million last year. He requested $21 million. Do I think that that's unreasonable? Not exactly, but there's a clear middle ground between 17 and 21, and you can get to 19, and that's a fair number. I don't know. Yeah. So you have that weighing into the decision factor. So another quick caveat here is maybe they didn't agree. Maybe the Yankees purposefully didn't agree to a salary here so they could just get the extension talks kickstarted.
Yeah.
Let's have some positive intention here. Let's think that they're actually doing something that is going to benefit our mental well-being and the overall health of the team. Then you look at it the other way. Judge has been continually saying he wants to remain a Yankee. There have been no extension talks yet. The Yankees admitted that. Aaron Judge admitted that. He's been saying this since I think after the trade deadline last year, maybe in August or September, he said it again after the wild card game, said it twice this offseason when speaking to reporters, and then when talking to Ryan Rucco and CC Sabathia on the R2C2 podcast, said it again this spring training. How many more times does he have to say it? I don't know how many more times it's going to take for the Yankees to realize. And the frustrating part is because they had all offseason to come up with how many contract offers could you come up for Judge? You could probably get six ones that make sense. Judge is a complicated case. I will say that. He'll be entering his age 31 season when he's a free agent. He only has 2 full seasons under his belt. He's an MVP caliber player, but if you're paying somebody $30+ million a year, $28+ million a year, they got to be on the field. Doesn't matter how good they are. So the case here is not the easiest. It's not blank check, $250 million. Let's get this done. This is more of a nuanced thing where you could have opt-outs, where you could front load it, give him super high AAV, make him happy there. It could be a super large short-term deal. You're looking at between 4 and 7 years. I think anything you could do reasonably here. A lot of options. Homegrown guy, clear leader of the team. or clear face of the team, one of the faces of baseball, wants to stay, loves New York, has mentioned and now there's been no overture to make this happen once the lockout. And I know the lockout only ended 2 weeks ago. It's been just over 2 weeks or something like that. So there hasn't been a whole lot of time, but still, you prepare all of this stuff during the offseason when you're sitting around, when you can't do anything, when your marquee move was signing Ender Inciarte to a minor league deal. You come up with contract offers. And now they're talking about they're preparing a long presentation for Aaron Judge. I don't know what this presentation is going to entail. I think he just wants some fucking money with some security. I don't think he needs a PowerPoint presentation from the corporate sector of New York City. And then even more discouraging, he brings up Dellin Betances' 2017 arbitration case, where famously Randy Levine brought him into a room and screamed at him for requesting too much on his salary for that year. After I think he had an all-star season with, an insane amount of strikeouts, which is bad practice from all angles. I mean, hey, Randy, if you were so upset and you thought the salary was so large, then go to arbitration, dude, and get the salary that you want. If you thought he was fully out of line for requesting that, then let the judge decide. Instead, he brings Dellin Betances into the room, screams at him. Nothing's ever the same after that. And that's not the relationship you want to have with anybody, let alone your employer, in everyday life. But you're talking about the Yankees here, where this is supposed to be it's got to be a well-oiled machine in some capacity, with the top guys kind of running the show and then everyone beneath them falling in line. So I don't like that he mentioned that. I don't like how there hasn't been any progress in talks. Opening day is about 16 days away at this point.
Yeah, we're close.
That's Judge's deadline. Judge is not negotiating a contract extension with during the season. And look, I don't know if it's a positive or negative if they don't get one. I don't think it's a terrible idea for him to. I think it's a win-win for both sides. Play your ass off this year, make more money maybe, or maybe there is an issue and there has to be more of a realistic agreement on a contract extension. I really don't know. But I don't like the energy around this. I don't like the narrative around how this has been transpiring with the franchise's best player, especially because every report that we're hearing is that the Yankees have been hesitant to spend on bigger free agents because they're prepping for an Aaron Judge extension. They're prepping to pay Aaron Judge. Okay, where is it?
What they meant when they said that was that they were preparing to pay him the $17 million 1-year salary. We can't stomach that. Yeah, I'm excited for the PowerPoint presentation. I feel like it's going to be a lot like when the Knicks tried to get LeBron James to New York and they gave him a PowerPoint with James Gandolfini and Edie Falco playing Tony and Carmela Soprano, like being like, hey, does LeBron James would be a good fit at MSG. Anyway, back to murder. Like, I think it's got to be that dumb. Otherwise, they shouldn't do it. Judge is a weird case, right? So what's Judge not saying? He's not saying what Mookie Betts said. He's not saying, I got to be fair. I got to reset the market. I got to fight for other players like me. Because one, he wants to stay here. He's made that the one thing Mookie Betts never said was, I definitely want to stay in Boston. He didn't say, I definitely want to leave, but he was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, the future is the future. And who knows how close the stars are. And, the sun might burn out someday or whatever. Like, just nothing quotes. And then obviously he leaves. He's trying to reset the market. Judge isn't saying that because he wants to come back. He definitely wants to come back. Whether he comes back or not, I don't know, but he certainly wants to come back. Additionally, he's not saying he wants to reset the market for players like him because there are no players like him. There are very few people like Aaron Judge. People don't hit free agency at 31. Superstars don't hit free agency at 31. Usually superstars hit that 27, 28, 29. Usually superstars don't come out of nowhere. They're not prospects with the body type of Aaron Judge, where even if we love him and we would use Yankee money between $180 and $200 million on him for sure, because in our world, that should not prohibit the Yankees from spending on anybody else, and it would prevent a lot of embarrassment. But even we don't know if he can hold up for more than 3 more years. I don't know. It's going to be a pretty impressive achievement if long-term Aaron Judge, 37-year-old Aaron Judge, playing first base, I guess, is like half as valuable as he is right now. I just don't know. I don't advocate signing him because it's going to work out long term. I advocate signing him because the New York Yankees are the New York Yankees, and they have the money to paper over a $180, $200 million accident. Now, will they? Kind of sounds like they won't, which I never want to be the guy being like, you got to think about the grass being greener on the other side. And when the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts, it was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen a big market team do. I thought they were going to win the World Series last year without him. They didn't. So still waiting there. Could be a curse there. We just don't know yet. But I thought that was one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen a front office do. They were 2 wins away from the World Series last year. Mookie Betts would have helped. Instead, they had Hunter Renfroe and his 140 batting ass. They had JD Martinez trying to play the outfield. Like, they had a bunch of jokes on that roster that were all worse than Mookie Betts. If the Yankees get rid of Aaron Judge preemptively and either let him walk or trade him, they're absolutely going to be a worse roster. It's a lot like the Gary Sánchez conundrum. Everybody wants Gary Sánchez gone, you and I included, and I sort of feel like getting rid of him might be getting rid of some toxicity this year. But you get rid of him, and now the catchers are Higashioka and Ben Rortvedt. And it's like, is that what you guys wanted? Is that what you wanted? And second and third, one out in a tie playoff game, Ben Rortvedt's coming up? Like, just something to think about. The grass is not always greener. So there's justification. I'd say there's no justification for letting Judge walk. There's 3% justification for trading Judge. But the problem is the Yankees aren't going to act like the behemoth Yankees. They should be able to absorb whatever contract they give Judge. But what they're saying is he's going to be our last $150, $200 million deal for a while with Cole and Stanton on the roster. They said they didn't want to get Correa this year because he cost the same. They said they didn't want to get Story this year because they cost the same, because they have room for 3, and the third is Judge. So I think they're going to do it. I don't think they're taking Aaron Judge to arbitration, which would be insane to do. They could settle at 19 if they wanted to. I think that's why they filed where they filed. Judge is probably a $21 million guy, but would he play for 19? Sure. Who cares? That's an easy conversation in the room. Does he get slandered because of his vaccination status? That's a question. By slandered, I just mean, is it part of the conversation? It's obviously not slander to say you're not vaccinated, you can't legally play in Toronto. It's the opposite of slander. It's a true fact. But now that's been kicked out of the can a little bit. Eric Adams lifted the vaccine mandate for New York athletes and artisans or something. So, like, now I can go to an unvaxxed art show and watch Aaron Judge play baseball, but you can't be an unvaccinated welder. I don't really know what's happening in New York City, and I'm done caring. I said I wasn't going to fist pump in either direction here. I absolutely won't. The mandate was bizarre. The statute made no sense. Lifting it also rewards people who don't deserve to get rewarded. My take is only that I don't want to talk about it. But Aaron Judge will be playing opening day pending an injury. Will it be his last opening day in pinstripes? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Just get it fucking done. It's very easy. Toronto, speaking of, if Judge can't play there, that's bad. That's 10 games. There are 10 games in Toronto this year, or 9?
I believe it's 9. Either way, it's bad. This is also the last season there will be an unbalanced schedule like that. They're moving away from overloading you with division opponents. They're going to put some National League teams on the schedule in 2023.
What?
So this is so this is the last year that, being unable to play in Toronto is really just going to, like, stab your season in the heart. And
it's good.
Yeah.
Right when the Yankees window is where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees need to win this year, and they might not be able to have their best player. And also their longest tenured player could maybe be a Blue Jay. Don't know. Toronto, the only other team thus far, according to reports, that has expressed interest in Brett Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Gardner.
Brett Gardner.
And they just traded Randall Grichuk today to the Colorado Rockies for Raimel Tapia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that move. I don't understand it. I do understand the interest in Gardner because they would have actually utilized Gardner as Gardner should be utilized. They had 4 outfielders with Tasker Hernandez, like, more so being a DH and not really a great fielder. And they had Kayvon Biggio as more of a utility guy, even though he'll be starting at second base. So they didn't have, like, a true 4th outfielder, but they could have made it work. So now, if they are really interested in Gardner, which I don't think they are, I think Toronto is the new chief troll for the Yankees. They would have had actually they do actually have a good role for him. 100 games, mostly part-time duty, getting in some reps versatile around the outfield, fill in with injuries, get the job done, be a threat on the base pass, whatever. Smart, great. And now with Grichuk gone, now that kind of actually creates the vacancy, even though Tapia also plays outfield. But it's Grichuk is a better player than Tapia, and Grichuk actually killed the Yankees for the last however many years. It's been 3 years. But nonetheless, I think this is more of me just talking about how much I hate the Blue Jays. I really hate them. I hate Mark Shapiro. I don't like him. He sucked in Moneyball. He sucked with the Indians. He sucks now.
He was like the Jerry West in Winning Time of Moneyball.
Yeah.
The guy who just doesn't get it at all. It's like, we can write it. Let's write a guy who's basically like, Moneyball? What the fuck you talking about, Moneyball? Just so at the end of the movie, he's like, turns out Moneyball was pretty cool.
Let's Peter Brand go for nothing. I mean, the guy, no idea what he's doing. But yeah, and then the Blue Jays just in general, they're bugging me. They're really bugging me. They're not getting in my head, but it's just annoying. Like, trolling the Yankees on Twitter the other day when they won the spring training game, saying the Blue Jays win. It's like, dude, it's the 4th game of spring training. Like, get over yourself. They signed Greg Bird. Do they even need that? Is that something they need? That's like just a clear way to piss off the Yankees or get in the Yankees' head in some capacity. And now they're interested in Brett Gardner, who, fine baseball player. There are other depth options for outfielders available still in free agency. They have Otto Lopez in their system, who's at AAA, who's a versatile defender, can play actually all infield positions and a few outfield positions. So there is no immediate need for this. And the interest here is, and it's just, and they know that X amount of Yankees players probably are not going to be able to play in Toronto. And you know that if they did sign Gardner, they would only utilize, or not only, but they would mostly utilize him against the Yankees. That's just what they would do. On top of that, they did something else that pissed me off somewhat recently. I mean, Robbie Ray edging Garrett Cole out for the Cy Young just angers me for no reason, just because Robbie Ray is not that great. But yeah,
and he's gone. He's already gone.
Already gone. Blue Jays getting under my skin. Making the right moves. Also, their rebuild has been expedited faster than anybody could have imagined. So I don't like it. They just drafted, and it was the era before Mark Shapiro. I didn't know they drafted all of the sons of the former major leaguers, whoever it was, drafted Vladdy, Bo Bichette, and Biggio.
Griff Conine, who I think has moved on too, but he was there.
Yeah. But what a crazy strategy. Like, I understand surface level. Yeah, this works, but like, oh yeah, we'll just draft the sons of MLB legends because that always works out. When does that ever work out?
Griffey.
Has it ever worked out?
Griffey Senior, Junior. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. So yeah,
all the rest are terrible.
That's it.
All the rest are terrible. Tim Raines Jr., horrible baseball player. Oh God, who am I thinking? Oh, Tony Gwynn Jr., one of the biggest ripoffs. I once bought. There was a baseball card product. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was one autograph per box. It was really expensive because the autographs came on signed, cut out like numbers and letters from jerseys. And it was extremely cool. And the checklist was like 99.9% hit rate. So you're only getting one. You're spending like $200, but you're pulling someone who's sick. And I got Tony Gwynn Jr. It's like the one guy you don't want, a complete waste. So I've always harbored that resentment. He sounds like his father, which is very cool, but not a very good baseball player. I don't have the same relationship with the Jays that you do because I still want to see them kick Boston's ass, which is a weird feeling. When those teams match up, I might as well have a Toronto hat. And have the sudden urge to throw a beer can at Hyun-Soo Kim of the Orioles because Toronto fans sneakily hooligans. But yeah, I mean, they're easily the team I hate the second most in the AL East. I hate them more than the Rays. Is that true?
For me, it is.
The current Blue Jays, yes, I hate them more than the Rays. They have more advantages than the Rays. They do more with more as opposed to more with less, I think. But Red Sox Blue Jays head to head, it's not even a question. I'd rather see Brett Gardner sign with the Blue Jays than the Red Sox. Yeah. But all that being said, there are articles dropping this week saying the Yankees clubhouse unanimously wants to bring Brett Gardner back, which is basically the only thing that could change my tone on them having no plan and them having a locker reserve for him being embarrassing. Well, it's a little less embarrassing if the entire team wants him. I did see JJ from the Bronx this week sort of say, like, if Gardner's leadership is that legendary, then where the fuck was he in the second inning at Fenway Park in the wild card game? Where was he the entire second half last year, this lifeless season? Like, was there any discernible impact with Brett Gardner's existence? Not particularly. But again, if the entire locker room is saying they want him and then all of a sudden the Blue Jays are connected to him, that's basically the only thing that can make me reverse course and be like, and we got a 28-man roster on opening day this year too.
Yeah.
So there's extra room. He's not nudging Oswaldo Cabrera off the roster. If you really want to go up the payroll to $255 million from $250 and you want to sign Brett Gardner, I'm no longer going to fight it. I do think the Blue Jays trading Grichuk and saving the Yankees from having to face a guy who destroys them. He hit a homer against the Yankees in spring training the other day. That's all he does. It started already. He's got a career 800 OPS against the Yankees, I believe. I mean, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Red Sox fans always cry about Rowdy Tellez doing that to them. This is like that, but worse, because he's worse than Rowdy Tellez and has less power. And now he's gone. He's on Colorado. You have to think there's a vaccination involved there. You don't just trade a starter on the verge of opening day. I think we're going to be learning a lot about vaccinated baseball players this year. Trevor Story's Red Sox deal almost fell apart because he wouldn't get vaccinated. Damn, that stinks. That would have been sick. Hold tight to your convictions, Trevor. Your convictions are crazy, but hold tight to them. Then you don't get to play for the Red Sox. But I think we're going to trading a starter on the verge of the season starting and you're projected to win the division. That doesn't make any sense unless there's a clubhouse catastrophe going on there. So if they replace him with Brett Gardner, that's probably the first time. It's one of the weirder mixed emotions I'll ever have. If we're going to get edged out by anybody this year, I hope it's Toronto. I hope that it's not Boston. I certainly hope it's not Tampa. But, I want to win the East. And the projection system still say the Yankees can do it. And you watch Wednesday's game and those dudes are all cracking the ball and you start to go, oh, right. Yeah, it was a 92-win team last year. Everybody underperformed like crazy. They were 37-22 down the stretch after being under 500 in the first half. So things have changed. Before we move on, do you want to mention that Clark Schmidt's pitching today?
Yeah, 3 strikeouts in 2 innings. Look good.
3 strikeouts in 2 innings. The velo and the spin rate, 97.8 on the gun, 97 even, 96.8, 96.6. All in the red.
Forearm doing well.
2867 spin on this curve, like this spike slider, all this red. Look at all that red.
Yeah.
Like if he's a guy, we haven't even thought about him. If he's a guy, all right.
If that's the plan, if he's getting 12 starts and some relief, like I'm on board with that. I'd rather him than Domingo Germán. I'd rather him and Luis Gil take on the Domingo Germán Michael King combo. I like Michael King where he is in the bullpen. I like Domingo Germán where he is not playing. And I have been a Clark Schmidt fan and a Luis Gil fan for a decent amount of time. I want to see them pan out. I know Luis Gil's come the closest to doing that with his start last year, but I think he has control things to work out. And you obviously saw the cracks in his game start to become more evident as he got more time at the major league level. But before we move on, Gardner, here's my whole thing on Gardner. I'd rather watch Gardner play 140 games again this year than watch him sign with the Toronto Blue Jays. And Randall Grichuk, 801 OPS career against the Yankees, 17 fucking homers in 65 games. Literally not even possible. He doesn't have anything. Oh, actually, no, he destroys the Orioles, 21 home runs in 57 games. Does that even count?
Sure.
That doesn't count. Anybody else, he has only double-digit home runs against 2 other teams, 11 against the Cubs and 10 against the Reds, and that was when he was playing against them in division as a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. So goodbye, Randall. And on to other rumors and trades surrounding us. Grichuk is gone via trade. Is Willson Contreras coming to the Bronx via trade? We pitched this probably 14 times over the last year and a half, probably.
Yes.
Really, we truly did. A bunch of Cubs trades, personnel kind of matches up in interesting ways, to say the least. And Willson Contreras, my take on Willson Contreras is, first of all, Bruce Levine, 670 the score in Chicago, said the Padres and the Yankees have been 2 teams that have checked in on Contreras over the last few weeks because the Cubs signed Yan Gomes in the offseason, 2-year, $13 million deal. Now they have 2 catchers making over $6.5 million this year, which doesn't make any sense. So what are you going to do? You're going to trade the guy you just signed, or you're going to trade the guy who was also enshrouded in trade rumors last year? Contreras on the hook, $7.5 million on his final arbitration year. My take on him, I'd like him, but he is Gary Sánchez without the expectation and just with more on-field visible passion. I know a lot of players have said Gary Sánchez has a lot of passion and he worked hard. You could have fooled me because you never saw that on the field. Even in big moments, it was constant lethargy or disappointment emanating from him. Contreras is a fireball, lunatic, in my opinion. Won World Series. Pitchers like throwing to him. He has good relationships with them. Very important. And the Yankees don't have a catcher, so they really have to figure something out here. I don't know how you feel about this. You look at the stats. If you did a player A/B stat, I'll pull it up as you start talking, but it's nearly identical.
It's insane, and Thomas will have it that the numbers line up 100%. Contreras is better defensively. Contreras is like basically the same offensively. But again, it's really going to be, if the Yankees manage to pull off a Willson Contreras trade, it's going to be a pretty interesting argument, intangibles versus intangibles. Again, he does grade out better defensively. You will no longer have the conversation, can you win a World Series with Willson Contreras? Of course you can. It's already happened. He's done it. There is no reason for a bad team to pay both Yan Gomes and Willson Contreras this year. Willson Contreras is a homegrown star, like Anthony Rizzo, like Chris Bryant, like Javier Baez, certainly in that class, has had seasons. Gary Sánchez has had seasons too that make you go, yes, great. Contreras has certainly had moments where you're like, this is one of the top 5 catchers in baseball, offensively, and the defense is fine. You're not going to be looking at him being like, what a downgrade. The Rort Vet Higgy thing is just like, look, it's interesting. The projections are that those positions don't hit at all. Yeah. And, there's a great article on River Avenue. Well, Views from 314 feet, the River Avenue Blues expatriate guys today wrote an article that's basically like, the framing and the defense is projected to be elite from both players, but fans can't see that. Fans can't perceive that. So how much patience are fans going to have for A, making the pitching staff happy, which is an imperceptible thing, and B, how many, second and third 2-out dribblers to second are they going to live with from Higashioka and Rortvet before they're like, I don't care about framing numbers anymore, and I'm going to boo.
Who cares about that, though?
Yeah, well,
better defense is going to save us so many runs. I know people aren't going to realize that.
As long as it actually does. As long as it actually does. If we're winning games, no one is going to argue with this. But if we're losing games and offense is the problem like last year, fans are going to be like, we don't even have an offensive player in the catcher spot.
Yes. And it's complicated because Gary, technically a starter, but not really a difference maker. Used to be a difference maker. The whole theory with Gary Sánchez was that he would give you the unique advantage at the one position that most teams have bad players at. There's probably 5 really good catchers in the game that elevate your team year to year. And now at this point, you just need good defense that's not going to be detrimental. And you can afford to have one bad bat in the lineup. The Yankees at this point really have one bad bat in the lineup, if it's that. And then you have Kiner Falefa, who's hits for contact, which is kind of what you need as a variant in this one-sided offense, it seems. But you look at Contreras. Contreras would be an upgrade in those areas, in both of those areas compared to what we have now. But if you look at these numbers, player A, 621 games, 112 OPS plus, 807 OPS, 583 strikeouts, and 310 RBIs. Player B, 538 career games, 113 OPS plus, 804 OPS, 582 strikeouts, 340 RBI. That is this Gary Sánchez, Willson Contreras comparison. I obviously took the numbers that all were nearly identical. The difference in games is 60, 70. So Gary is player B. He has way more RBIs over the course of those 538 games, but OPS plus is identical. OPSs are identical. Contreras has a 6 D WAR compared to Gary's 1.8 and -2 DRS compared to Gary's -9. So there is an upgrade there, and there's an offensive presence there. And if Gary honestly was hitting in the manner in which he's hit over the last, take out 2020, even his really bad season where he hit 186 but hit like 30 something home runs, you would take that if he was an elite defender. But he's not an elite defender, and he can't throw runners out anymore. His caught stealing percentage was a career low this year. So yeah, if we get somebody who could play defense, pitchers put the ball in play, you're going to have your warts. You're going to strike out. You're not going to, you're going to have your troubles. But if you have all around solid foundation around you, which Contreras has, I think that makes the difference.
I believe that's correct. And again, you're not closing a door on adding a catcher yet. Contreras could be the guy. Contreras could be the guy mid-season if the Higgy Rortvedt thing isn't working out. The 2021 Yankees proved that you can really retool the deadline if you want to. The clock has not run out on you until after the deadline is over, as long as you can tread water in that first half. The Yankees want to be above 500 at the deadline for sure, and hopefully they will be, and hopefully the catcher platoon isn't what's throwing them into a pit and sending them down to 500. That would not be good. But last year, they were basically a 500 team. They were so much more after the deadline. Maybe the Cubs come to their senses in the middle of the year. Maybe someone overwhelms them with a package. Maybe the Yankees trade for Sean Murphy of the A's and attach a pitcher to that. Maybe the Yankees attach Kyle Hendricks to Willson Contreras. I don't know. I don't know what the Cubs are doing. I do know that they've added more than you maybe expected them to add this offseason, considering where they were. They were rumored to be in the Rizzo mix. They got Clint Frazier and his unannounced concussion. He has now arrived in Chicago. So I'm not sure if the Cubs are in full-on sell mode. They're definitely not the Pirates. They're definitely not the A's. The Guardians have a $30 million payroll as well. The Cubs are not in there. The Cubs are more likely to be lingering and look at, assess their situation. There's no team that's going to absolutely run away in the
Central.
In the Central. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know words anymore. The Brewers are a great team, but they're mostly a great rotation with a whatever offense. They didn't get Luke Voit, probably should have. The Cardinals went on a masterful run last year, but prior to September, they did not look unbeatable. The Reds don't exist. The Pirates don't exist. Cubs could feast on the bottom of the division and be in the mix for that 6 or 7 seed easily. So maybe they want to hold on to Contreras now. But maybe the flip side happens. The Brewers run away with it. The Cardinals are incredible. They fall off. We just don't know. But I would say don't even rule it out if they don't get it done by opening day.
Yeah, no. And I think the Cubs kind of position themselves nicely to be able to sell at the deadline if they're not performing well. Like Stroman's on this 3-year deal and the 3rd year has an opt-out, I believe. So teams would be like, oh yeah, I'll take Stroman for 1.5 years and then not have to worry if he's going to opt in. Maybe he'll want to hit free agency again. Hendricks will always be able to be sold high because of his contract situation. I think 2 more team options at like 14, 15 million, which is nothing. You got Clint Frazier, who we could probably trade. No, I'm just kidding. Not going to do that. But yeah, the Cubs and they could, they got Ian Happ. They have, who's the other guy? Nico Horner. A lot of options there. I think they have a good foundation, but if things go wrong, they have sellable pieces where they can expedite. Oh, Nick Madrigal. Holy shit. Forgot about him from the Kimbrel trade.
One of my favorite players in baseball. I'm very excited.
This is a fun team. So I think the Yankees are going to be, honestly, they're going to be in experimental mode. They're going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll see how this platoon goes. And if it's not good, we'll figure something else out. And then they won't figure something else out because why would they be able to do that? They put themselves in bad positions constantly. But I think the lineup is fine right now. If they truly believe this defense is going to make all the difference and the bat is whatever, look, like Higgy, not that great, but Higgy kind of hits when you need him to hit. Unexpected jolt of energy, unexpected home run. When you need some sort of injection of life into the lineup, he's always kind of been there and done that. I'm not saying I'm going to continue to rely on that, but that is an element he brings to the game. I have no idea what to expect out of Rortvedt, aside from him just being jacked. Maybe his biceps he'll just get hit by a lot of pitches because he's flexing over the middle of the plate, just popping veins out.
He's apparently going to play before the end of spring training, says Aaron Boone, as of today. So hopefully that happens, because of all the people, I would like to see what the hell he looks like. I have no idea.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Heard of him I went down the Twins catcher depth chart this year because I thought the Yankees could trade for Mitch Garver. And so I was like, oh, they got a guy named Ben Rortvedt? All right. But at no point was I like, that's a target. Yeah. I think it's experiment mode for sure. But I do think they're going to want to see what they have with these catchers before they move along. The anything else to yell about section of the podcast, I've just got one quick thing. While we were talking, Marwin Gonzalez went deep, 2-run shot to left, and Eric Boland tweeted long 2-run homer to left by Marwin Gonzalez, who was recently signed and is all but a lock to make the club as a reserve.
Are you fucking kidding me?
So
are you fucking kidding me?
I hadn't thought about that for even 1 second until today when they shoved him out there at shortstop, and I was like, I was just kind of like, but then now I'm like, yeah, okay,
cool.
All but a lock. Come join the club. Does that shove Oswaldo Cabrera to AAA? Probably. Is Marwin Gonzalez an easy DFA if he's terrible in April? Yes.
True. Yeah.
That's all I'm thinking about there. Yeah.
Okay. I had one thing to not even yell about, but last episode we talked about Correa, 1-year deal. Why didn't the Yankees do this? Why didn't the Yankees try to do this? I believe what I thought about the other day, just staring at my ceiling when I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Scott Boras, Correa's new agent, who he hired this offseason, I don't think he would have allowed a big market team to do this, to do a 1-year huge deal, unless it was like $50 million. I think that he's always looking to play these teams and play the market in a certain way. And I think that he just got the leverage he needed. He had a mid-market team in the Twins, pay a record AAV price for a shortstop, and it doesn't really matter if it's long-term or not. All that matters is the AAV number. Unless it's Trevor Bauer, then we don't really care about that number. That number doesn't exist for Trevor Bauer. But $35 million a year for Correa. And now he's going to use that as leverage in subsequent off seasons when there is kind of a lack of a demand surrounding certain players, certain high profile players, because maybe they had a down year, maybe they have an injury concern. And he's like, well, if you're a small market team and, you're trying to make a push, hey, Royals, you got a nice little young core. Maybe you can invest another $40 million, get a really good player on your team, see what happens. I think he's now cornered that market. I don't think he's going to let big market teams take advantage of getting out of these long-term financial commitments. I think he wants them, Dodgers, Angels, Yankees, Mets, et cetera, spending for the 7, 8, 9, 10-year contracts. And then he's going to start working in the smaller market teams as we kind of new frontier of baseball, kind of with the higher numbers, the franchises becoming more and more valuable by the day. And I think he just played himself into an entirely new realm where he's going to be able to take financial advantage of more teams.
I think that's true. I think Scott Boras is still excited that he gets a chance at a clean slate next year. Correa said at his press conference today or yesterday, like, well, this isn't just a 1-year thing. Like, don't think of it that way. And then he just started talking about how much he loves the hamburgers with cheese in them in Minnesota. And like, I love those too. But that's also like the first thing if I Googled Minneapolis things, I would come up with the hamburgers with cheese. And he was like, oh yeah, I always get here early because I'm just pounding those Juicy Lucy's or whatever. And it's like, is that your masseuse's name? Just kidding. But it was like, I mean, come on. Like, my favorite thing about Minneapolis is the lakes. I mean, there's 10,000 of them. It's like, you just Googled the state motto. That's what you did, Carlos? I mean, it didn't convince me exactly. So I do think he's gone after this year. We'll find out, of course. Pack as many of those hamburgers into a short time frame as you possibly can, CDOT, and then come visit New York. That is it for this live edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Live edition. They're all live at this point. Why did I even say that? I don't know. Because I just want to let you guys know that we are live. We're coming at you every Monday and Thursday, 2:00 Eastern, live on YouTube, not on Twitch. Might be interesting to be on Twitch. We're not there. We're on YouTube. You can also find us after the fact on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. drop us those reviews. 5 stars only. Anything less than 5 stars might as well not even be a review. And if you like what you just heard, you can literally go to the podcast app probably an hour after the show airs live. You'll hear it again. We'll welcome the listen. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. It's right below on the screen. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. You can find us and our bylines at yanksgoyard.com. Written content there, fun stuff, lots of explorations, deep dives going down. And the official Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Fun place to be. Another fun update, Anthony Rizzo foul home run. We will see plenty of those. Hopefully he gets them out of his system in spring training now, because I don't want to see many more of them when it counts.
No.
And that's it.
And that's it. But I am ready for regular season Rizzo. Honestly, give me a full season of that guy. Give me a full season of Joey Gallo. Give me 162 games of Marwin Gonzalez, baby, and let's ride. Until next time, we'll see you next Monday, everybody.